Hello and welcome everyone to day 2 of Films Representation Film Festival. My name is Nico Marzano, I'm the festival founder and curator. It's my pleasure to introduce the UK premiere of Honeyland by Tamara, Kotevska and Ljubomir Stefanov. Frames Representation will continue until next Saturday. This year we are in our fourth iteration, presenting 18 works in total. Frames continue to be a space where we want to nurture cinematic languages that try to defy categories, try to question cinema and any rigid categorization of cinema in favor of a complexity, a plurality. And we love the idea of looking at films, works that connect their aesthetics, their gaze, their form of representation with their political commitment, with the politics of a film, without falling into any propagandistic mode. And this is definitely the case of the film that you're about to see, Honeyland. Honeyland, it's a beautiful, visually striking piece of work that won a grand jury prize at the World Documentary Section at Sundance, set in the Balkans. And it's telling us how human greed is really affecting and impacting on landscape, on our own ecosystem, without even being aware of it. We are having a Q&A, a conversation after the screening, where you are also invited with the two directors and with the Dennis Lim, director of programming Lincoln Center in New York. I want to say a quick thank you also to Dogwoof, who is the UK distributor of this film that will be released then in UK cinemas soon. And now please join me in welcoming Ljubomir Stefanov and Tamara Kotevska.
Hello, everyone. We are very, very happy to be here because it was almost impossible. We are traveling almost a month now, and we are for the first time in London, thanks to these wonderful people, Nico Marzano and Raquel Moraes, who helped us a lot to come here. And this is our UK premiere.
Good afternoon. Thank you from me also. It's nice to see you in such a number. And only before the screening, I would like to announce that after the Q&As, we'll have a honey tasting outside, so you're welcome to stay and try it. Enjoy the film. Thank you.
So please welcome back Tamara Kotevska. And Ljubomir Stefanov.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Hi, Daniel.
Thank you.
I'm just going to start by asking you to maybe just tell us what brought you to this remote part of the Balkans and in the first place, and how you found your subject.
Okay, it's really a remote part of the Balkans. Me and Tamara and the whole crew, we were working on, this is not our first movie, we were working on another smaller documentary before this. And while we was finishing that one, we start to the research phase. For in that time we didn't know what it was gonna be, for a new documentary about in the frames of a nature conservation project in a certain area in our country. And while researching this area, which is long time ago abandoned, still 1950s, it's supposed to be also an environmental documentary about the area, but we spotted that holes on the cliffs, which were obviously artificial. And soon after that, we came to this abandoned village of Bekirlia, which is one of the 10 abandoned villages in the area. And soon we found the only inhabitant of the village.
Can you talk a little bit about your first encounter with Hatice? I'm just curious if you knew right away that she would be the subject. You could even say the star of your film.
This is a very long and spontaneous process of this film. So we didn't know from the very beginning who will, like all of these characters will be part of it. They just came slowly in the process. And at the beginning, because the first people we met, the first beekeepers we met from the area were Hatice's brothers who live in different villages, who have civilization with their families. They're settled. They do the same activities, maybe even more extreme. They go down on the rocks with ropes. But when we met her particularly, and when we discovered the story that from 10 children, she had a destiny as a last female to remain and take care of the parents. This is a tradition in this tribe. And that's why she's there with her mother, alone, with no family. And we, at that moment, knew that this is the right person whose story needs to be told. And also, what made us the most sure was her statement, one of the first comings to her village, when she said, I always had a dream that some journalists come and record me when I was climbing on the hills.
And show me on TV.
Because she is like born with this great enthusiasm for life. And it's even so weird when you go there and to see all this place being kind of in a deep sleep. Even the cats, they don't move, they don't react. And this woman has all the joy in the world inside herself. And this is something you don't meet anywhere. Like not in big cities, it's really a miracle. So for me, as I think, people like this, born with this kind of star, cannot get hide. Like eventually, at one point, they will be exposed to the world. So this is how it happened with her.
At what point did you become aware of the neighbors?
I'll start. At the beginning, we started shooting with her. We didn't have a clear idea. We have one clear idea. We will talk about it later, about the environmental point. Yeah. But we didn't have an idea of the style of the movie, which will be narrative. It will be with statements. It will. We just started to follow her with her activities. Just let her doing her business, and at a certain point, we needed a conflict, and then the family just appears.
It's a lot simpler when you tell it than when you live it, actually.
Can you say a bit about your relationship with the subjects and how it... First, actually, maybe we should start by if you could just lay out the process, how long it took you to make this film. I know it was quite over an extended period, and I'm also curious how your relationship with Hatice, but also with the family, evolved over that time. I imagine it was a different kind of relationship.
I must say at the beginning that for us, it was crucial that first of all, we become a family, the crew that was shooting, these 4 people who were always there, before we become family with the locals. This is the crucial thing for documentary, because it's a long process, unpredictable process that requires a lot of trust and a lot of belief in what you do. So this was the first obstacle to do, to have trust that the four of us in this unknown period of time will stick together and will be there for this story. And with that teacher, of course, it was easy, as I said in the beginning, because she wanted to participate in this, even though she needed certain time to relax with us, with the camera, of course. And with the other family, it was a struggle, let's say, because they were very wild and distant from us. When we first saw them, it was on the village, the water place. I don't know the name. And the little kids were hiding from us, like they were like wild animals, like just looking at us and running. So after a while, we saw how Hatice communicate with the children, because she doesn't have children of her own, and she loves these children, even though she has a conflict with the parents. She invites them in her house. They love her as well because she sings to them, she tells stories, she entertains them, gives them food. So we started like observing her, how she behaves with them, and we follow this. And after a while, they accept us. So the last part was the grown-ups. And eventually, after 6 months, they all kind of accepted us. And with these people, also living in such a remote place, once they accept you, they treat you like a family. That's it for them. It's finished story. So from that point, they saw the camera, like all this, the shooting, and the camera, they saw it like a game. For them, it was fun. So they just wanted to show more, let's say.
So this very small crew of yours, it was both of you, one, you had DP,
okay,
two DPs?
The numbers. The whole film was made so with 2 directors, 2 cinematographers, 1 editor and 1 sound designer. It's 6 people, and we. Thank you. We spent there 3 years, 100 filming days, spread it in 3 years, for 400 hours of material. It's not only the quantity, it's in those 400 hours there were situations, a lot more than you see in the film, but during the hard process of editing, 1 year of editing, we choose this, and there were probably even more impressive scenes and situations that we just throw in the garbage.
We decided to make a simple story that's easy to follow, not just to put impressive things inside. So this is how it ended up like this.
I do want to ask about the editing, but first, actually, a question about the process of shooting. There was, I understand that there was a sort of communication issue, language issue as well, and in that you did not. They're speaking Turkish.
Yes,
a form of Turkish.
We don't understand Turkish.
So, but could you communicate to
yes,
them?
They're speaking Macedonian.
In Macedonian
also,
to you, but amongst each other, they're speaking Turkish. So how did that affect the process of shooting when you're not really aware of what they're saying?
Those things that they're saying are very simple and recognizable. I will talk more about the process of editing.
Okay.
We start editing on mute, and we spent first, I don't know how many, 5 months maybe more, 5 months editing in mute without sound, just And during that period, four translators were making a transcript of, and that was also some 400 pages of transcript, which were later put it as SRT files, and we were surprised what we were hearing.
I think it was the best thing by me, in my opinion. It's the secret of such a visually strong story, because to work on a different language that you don't know, as every human being, you get focused on visual things, what are happening. And this helped us a lot to create a story that will be understandable for everyone, because it's on the basic visual level before everything else. And then when the translation came, for us it was even more beautiful to discover, for example, in this 2-hour scene of Hatice and her mother, to discover these wonderful things they're saying was so great for us, because it was a shock also. Like, for example, the main line, the most important line that's said between her and her mother, which could be also like the core of the film, which is will there be spring, which is a reference to all our future and all our connection with nature. And this is something that we discovered when we got the transcript, and this was the most important line we heard. So it was a lot later.
That's a quote in the catalog of the festival. Is there with spring?
This is also the line where she talks about God burning their livers, which
all those things.
Another very important line. But so to come, you talked about really not having a sense of the style of the film and
in the beginning,
yeah. And I'm just wondering if you can say how that emerged in the process of shooting and of observing and of collaborating with Hatice and the rest of your subjects.
Well, that requires deeper explanation. On the scene before she is going to the market, you remember that, where she's taking honey from the window in the ruins, when she's saying half for me, half for you. We shoot that scene in the first weeks of shooting, and that was the main point we got attached into, and it is very. We will talk later. It is very important environmental point, and we start following that line. That her principle, her motto of sharing, and after a certain period of time, it was a couple of months, and it was several sessions of filming. We realized that there is a story, there is a point, and what we needed was just that conflict. And
can you actually maybe expand a little bit on this idea of the film? You started making this. You were in the region to research and to make this film about conservation, and you talk about the environmental issue being important to you, and yet you make a film that's very observational in its approach, not very didactic, in which the issue just sort of emerges through the character, through situations. So I'm wondering if you can sort of talk about that balance, that environmental issue that's important to you, and also how you shape the film around it.
I think this is important to say that this is our second film together that we work. So in the first, we had a chance to explore different approaches to documentary. And it's very important that we come from a different background. Ljubo has like 20 years of experience on environmental subjects, and I come from a film school where I was more focused on dramaturgy and following the characters. So this was a perfect combination to fill the gaps in the story in every sense. And in the first documentary, we started with this experimenting of different approach in documentary. We used even like stop animation for some things. And we explored how to work with, how to represent natural characters, protagonists, in a pure film structure, let's say, not to be just talking heads, just interviews. So in this film, because we started following first Hatice, I mean, of course, we said from the beginning we want a character in this, even though it was first starting point was environmental film. We wouldn't do it without a character, of course. So meeting her and starting to follow just her in the beginning, we didn't know exactly what type of documentary this will be. Will it be with her narration? Will it be just about her? Just this one character observation? And that's why we spend more and more time, because we wanted to find just the right approach in this. And when we saw the other family, when we saw the potential to work with them, we realized that this subject and area and characters give us the richness. I'm not sure if I say it correctly. I'm sorry for my English. They gave us the option to make a structure like in a fiction film, in a way, because they were so open to us, and there were so beautiful scenes that we can create. And this is how we decided, let's try this. We don't know if it's gonna work. Our editors support us big time with this, and push us in this direction in a way to, let's try to make this look like a fiction, but still be a documentary. So we took this risk, and eventually, after this long process, we made it. So this is.
And nice. And about the environmental point, as we mentioned before, at the beginning we catch that her motto of sharing, half for me, half for you, and what is, I would like to explain what does it mean. Today we have lots of environmental problems in the world, like climate change, like loss of biodiversity, and many others. And this point is connected to also one of the biggest environmental problems, which is overusing of natural resources. And her motto, half for me, half for you, is basically one of the United Nations Millennium Goals of equal share of benefits between users, which are humans, and providers, which is nature. In this case, bees. So this film is not about bees and the honey. It is deeper.
It's about all the nature.
It is about fair sharing of benefits in order to ensure food security for us, for humans, and for the provider for the next year. That's why this is important.
I'm just going to ask one more question, and then we'll take some from the audience. You've been traveling constantly with this film since it premiered, I think, just over 2 months ago at Sundance. You've shown it all over the world. We had a great screening with you in New York, and I know you've been to Hong Kong, and you also had Hatice with you at a screening in Switzerland just a few days ago. And I'm just curious how the film has been received in, given the different contexts in which you've shown it. It is, as you say, a very simple kind of open film with these, resonant themes that can be read in different ways. So I'm just curious if there have been different responses based on where you've shown it.
This is a very interesting question. It's something we are very, very much thinking in the last period since we visited Hong Kong for the first time. It was the first showing after Sundance. And because some of these places we also see for the first time, it's equally interesting for us to see audience reactions as it's for audience to see the film. So we decided to make some kind of articles for every place we visit. Why is this film and this subject important and interesting for this place, and vice versa for us? Why is this place? So it was very interesting to see every place, how they react on different topic of the film. For example, in Hong Kong, it was so impressive that people were more connected with Hatice's solitude, with her way of living, because it's so overpopulated there, but people still feel this loneliness. And to them, we even had this great response from one viewer who we remember the most from all the screenings, who said, don't let the crowds fool you. Human solitude is equal everywhere, no matter where are you in the world. And for example, it was so interesting for New York to see that people immediately recognized the consumeristic aspect of the neighbors. It's not just for New York, it's most of the big cities, of course. But there was also some comment like, yes, we are like that, because we are, in fact, all of us. It's how society is going. And even if you don't want to be like this, you don't have much choice, because the truth is we cannot live like Hatice. It's not in our everyday life. But at least we can get more aware and maybe try to do some change.
In Switzerland, the audience was 70 years plus, so we thought. It's amazing. The audience was only white hairs.
They loved the film, of course. They connected with that.
Okay. Now we can see how the London audience responds. So, take some questions. Yeah, there's a microphone. So, yeah, there's a question right at the back.
Hi, I was wondering, because there's this catastrophic loss of her bees towards the end of the film. What does she live on in the months that follow? Like, how does she survive, Hatice?
The bees survive also.
What he means is in the last scene, in the winter, when she takes the honey in the middle of the snow and the rocks, it's representation that it keeps going and she still has bees. This changes from year to year, but she takes care of them. And in these 3 years while we were there, some year there was a lot more. Some year there wasn't even to buy one jar for each of us for home. So it very much depends, and it requires a lot of patience. So she still lives from that. It's for a fact. It's the only way she knows how to live.
Thank you very much for this beautiful film. I was going to ask you about how did you feel about working with someone in a very remote area? Hello? Thank you very much for this beautiful film. And I was going to ask you about your feelings about working with someone who is a part of a minority and they're also living in a remote area. And there is this group of people coming from the city, and like in situations like them cutting the tree where the honey bees are, and like as a filmmaker, these dilemmas, how did you kind of make decisions around these things?
There are two questions. First, if I understand correctly, first question was about our relation with the families. We must say that we keep these relations till today. When we're in Skopje, we're on the phone every day with the family and also with Hatice. In 2017 we were participating an event in Sarajevo Film Festival, Work in Progress, where we got an award, and we spent that award for buying a new house for Hatice in the nearest populated village. That house is not a fortune. In rural Macedonia, houses cost around 10 to 12,000 euros, but it is still a house with all necessary conditions, with electricity, with refrigerator and everything else. We also helped the family with certain needs for them and for the kids. And we started a campaign on our website, Honeyland.earth. You can visit the site, and there are donations, and everybody who donate for the children is getting a small jar of honey for a reward. And we'll continue to help both of them, to the family and the kids. And second question about the guys the buyer who is coming. It is a question of decision. Are we going to intervene or not in a certain situation? During our stay there were many situations that we are in some kind of a question: are we should intervene or not? And we choose not to intervene. The scene with the buyer, it is a filmmaker's luck. Those two scenes are filmed in only 2 days. He just appears there, and first time we met him is the scene with the suitcase when he is giving the food for them. That is our first contact with him.
But you must be aware of the Balkan mentality that everybody wants to be a star. So he wanted to show everything he knows how to do. Is it cutting of a tree or whatever? It's a different mindset. So like they want to be shown what they can do. So this is how he made this thing. And not to intervene is very important, because we don't belong in this cruel reality they are living. We're just guests there. So their parents teach the kids they must survive, and it's their obligation to survive in this cruel nature. So whatever happens, we cannot help, because we are just there for 2 days, and then it's the same next day, and they must learn how to survive. So for us, it was important to stay aside from whatever is happening. Even if the girl is drowning or they're cutting the tree, they must solve their own justice. It's the way how it is.
Right there, yeah. And sorry.
Thank you very much for the film. It was a really great experience watching it. Quick question regarding shooting the family itself. It seems like there was another cameraman, or was another camera was involved with those scenes, as it was the wider angle and it was handheld. There was a lot of action and energy in it, and rather than the other scenes with the mother, it was like more tripod, and the cameraman had enough time to set. And also, if you can explain that, like, how did you deal with the family, and also if the family see the film, and what do they react to it, and if they understand it.
So our favorite reaction came from Hussein, the father. He called us, actually, because they haven't seen the full film. They will see it in Macedonia. This is a festival in Macedonia in August. and he saw the trailer on the news, and he called us and said, "Wow, I was so worried about my truck. It's so old. How it's gonna look, and how did you make it look so new?" and like that dust behind, it's very good.
And we had a close premiere to two screenings in Skopje actually, and we invite Atije and two of the kids, Muzo, the boy who is with her, and the little girl Gamze. They were staying in our place for 2 days, and they liked the film very much.
And Atije made a great show on the closing of the premiere, on the party. She grabbed the phone from the band who was playing and started singing the Turkish songs. Everybody was so happy.
She sings in Switzerland 3 days before also.
She loves singing in general.
I have a question in the front here. You can use my mic.
I'm so sorry. I think we're going to have to...
Oh, we out of time.
Yeah, we're really out of time.
All right.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
Honey tasting in the hall.
Okay, you can chat.
Don't forget
with
about
them
it
during the honey tasting.
We
Thank
can
you.
go on with the questions
Thanks,
outside.
Tamara. Thank you.